I start my recap. بلشنا قلنا what can we invest in. ما هيك حددنا شو هن الانفستمنتس يلي فينا نحطهم. اوكي فينا نحط بشو؟ فينا نحط ب countries, ب commodities and ب companies. 3 C's. Okay, you always divide your mindset into the 3 C's. Okay, country, commodity, company. Country, commodity, company. country شو فينا نستثمر بالسندات الدين تبعهم usually treasury bond, treasury bills etc. وبالكيورنسي بالفوركس بالدولار باليورو بحيالله كيورنسي بالسويس فرانك بالكنديان all of this. Okay, commodities oil gold there are many other commodities. Okay, and يلي مهتم بالcommodities يحط note لأنه بالone on one we're gonna go towards the commodity trading strategies. Again, حنزل a few videos on commodities moving forward, shorter videos. مثلا how can we approach gold in a practical way? How can we approach oil in a practical way? And these are going to be exclusive for you guys, for the students. It's going to be on Teachable. So it's not going to be on social media. حيكون purely on Teachable. But for you to understand, no, gold is, for example, a hedge. Usually used by investors as a hedge against crises. يعني إذا في a crisis in the market, we see gold going up. بس مش بس هيك. Gold can have a utility. Gold is a metal. ما تنسوا. Gold is a metal. مثلا, there was in the 80s, in the 70s as well, there was something called the War of the Stars. Okay, or the Stars Wars. مش Star Wars. The Stars Wars. That was basically the US and the Soviet Union at the time كانوا عم بيتحاربوا to go into space. عم بيتنافسوا basically to go into space and to discover space. And they needed very strong metals to build their missiles and their rockets. Okay, and gold was one of the metals that they would use. So gold picked up a lot of steam, a lot of price at the time because it was highly used as a utility for these rockets. So نحن بدنا نطلع على الجولد مش بس مثل ما كل العالم بيطلعوا ايه اوكي hedge. لا, في محلات في utilities. Gold is sold مثلا usually in celebrations, in marriages, in stuff, and it's heavily sold in India. India is known to have usually a tradition where marriages happen between September and December of each year. So we have a spike in demand on gold but between September and December of each year. So هيدا بدنا ننتبه له. Okay, it's not only ليه عم يطلع الذهب, why did it kind of depeg from hedging. نشوف مثلا stock market طالع عادة نشوف الجولد نازل. September through December, so we might see some divergence. اوقات بنشوف الجولد طالع because there is demand. Okay, and now as you might have heard, India has surpassed China in population. So it's only going up from here, and demand is only going up as well. Okay, as a utility, مش بس as a hedge. So that's something we need to understand. قلنا countries, commodities, gold, oil. Oil is used across the economy. It's also controlled by OPEC. So نحن we have to follow what OPEC and OPEC Plus are doing تنفهم عن جد how things are happening. تنفهم, okay, out of nowhere, a week ago, 10 days ago, we got OPEC Plus basically decide to cut production. ليش? This comes from a geopolitical/political approach. يعني نحن بنطلع بنشوف what is happening. There is tension بين the Saudis, for example, the US, China, Russia. That means something. We need to analyze it. Okay? بس مش analyze it only from a political perspective. Analyze it تنفهم عن جد شو عم بيصير. تنفهم كيف عم بيصيروا القصص. Okay? Why now Russian gas is being bought by countries irrespective of sanctions. This means شو? This means that there is an extra supply of gas and there's an extra supply of oil. So هيدا كمان بدنا ننتبه له. Okay, so countries, commodities, and companies. Companies قلنا there are bonds مثل ما في ديون على country في ديون على company وقلنا في stocks, right? وفتنا بالstocks, and to try to identify the winning stocks we have to go through fundamental and technical analysis. Fundamental, we identified an acronym. We identified FIME. Okay, financial statements, number one. Industry, we look at the industry. How is the industry performing? How do we look at the industry? For tech, we look at the NASDAQ. For مثلا automotive, we go to an automotive, مثلا بنفوت على Tesla, let's say, and we look at the competitors and we compare what is happening. نحط charts تبعهم and we compare them. نشوف where are they moving? Are they all moving up? Are they all moving down? Okay. We look at different indexes. أكيد S&P 500, Dow, all of this that can get us a glimpse of the overall financial market. We look at management, very important. حكيتكم فسرنا كيف to look at management, to look at who's managing the company, etc., to identify potential buyouts, potential mergers, potential deals that are happening in the market. Okay, and we look at economic indicators. لما قلنا we look at economic indicators, فتنا بالdetails into what? فتنا, we identified three main hard economic indicators. شو يعني? Okay, GDP number one, unemployment number two, inflation number three. كل الوقت لازم يكونوا براسنا قديش GDP, قديش unemployment, وقديش inflation. Okay, لأنه these will also impact the market. So فتنا بهولي. And then when we identify those, شفنا كيف بنعرف الانفليشن, كيف بنعرف unemployment, كيف بنشوف jobless claims, كيف بنطلع على السي بي اي على البي سي اي على البي ام اي حتى تنشوف to give us a glimpse of what the GDP would look like. هولي كلهم شفناهم. Okay, then we move to technical to understand what is technical. مش technical يعني charts, technical يعني ratios. Okay, فتنا بالratios. ما هيك شو قلنا لكن لنرجع. countries, commodities, companies. نزلنا fundamental analysis, financial statements بلشنا فيهم لنفهمهم, industry, management, economic indicators. فسرنا كيف بنشوف economic indicators. Okay, GDP, unemployment, inflation. فتنا more technical into ratios. We understood ratios. شو يعني? في 5 types of ratios, right? Liquidity, تنشوف إذا the company اللي عم نعمل لها trade is liquid. Leverage, إذا مدينين كتير أما لا. Okay. Efficiency, إذا they know how to run their business, إذا في efficiency بالprocess تبعهم. Okay, number 3. Number 4, شو profitability, are they making money أما لا. يمكن يكونوا عم بيعملوا process بعقد بس ما عم بيعملوا مصاري. هون بدنا نشوف شو عم بيصير, بدنا نشوف ليش. Okay. And last is market value. How is the market treating them? Are they overvalued or undervalued? هون نطلع على price to earning ratio مثلا. تنشوف إذا are we trading below the benchmark of the industry or above, below what the PE ratio تبع الناسداك is or above. تنشوف below the competitor or above. And that's how we identified electronic arts. تذكروا قلت لكم عن electronic arts. حكينا it was at 125, now it's at 129. I told you that we compare to Nvidia, although it's not really the same industry per se. However, it's very close and it has a potential of growing into potentially chips, into gaming cards, which they do, into gaming, into software, into IP. كل هولي. So we identified EA as a potential to look at and to add to our watch list. بس خلصنا financial ratios, we understood how to kind of manage understand the company. We moved to technical, to charting. لنفهم شوي what kind of indicators do we have. and we understood إنه عنا 4 concepts we need to understand. أول شيء support. شو support? It's the bar at which we bounce, basically يعني the low that we bounce on and we go up. ما عم نكسر نزول. Okay? Resistance is when we go up, there's a resistance on the price and then we bump back down. Accumulation and distribution. This is where I shared it hone just to give you هيدا. Support, okay, is the price level at which demand for an asset is strong enough to prevent the price from declining further. Right? ما بقى فيه خلص يعني صار عنا buying power. هون صار عنا buying power عم نرجع نطفش طلوع. Buying power عم نرجع نطفش طلوع. It's always offer and basically supply and demand. شو يعني؟ نحن بس نطلع على الشارت وهلا حنفوت شوي بالكونسبت تبع الشارتينج. بس نطلع على الشارت it's very important to understand انه الشارت اول شيء it's a historical pattern. هاي واحد. It's supply and demand, basically people buying the asset or selling the asset. يا عم نشتري يا عم نبيعه, right? Support is when ننزل نوصل لمحل العالم صارت شايفة انه في value بالشيء يلي عم نطلع عليه الفاينانشال asset, so صار لازم ينشرى. اوكي, وهون بنبلش نشوف a change in trend. ننزل بنبلش نشوف a change in trend. اوكي, resistance is the opposite. من فوق وعالم عم تشتري توصل لمحل that's it, the market is saturated. خلص ما بقى بدنا نشتري هيدا لانه عم بيطلع, صار فوق البي اي ريشيو صار كثير عالي, الفالويشن تبعيته صارت كثير عاليه لهالاسيت. شو ما كان جولد, كان ستوكس, كان شو ما كان, right? And then the third major concept is the accumulation, okay, to a period of time when buyers are actively purchasing a security. Okay, they are accumulating. Okay, so we're going up. Distribution is بالعكس. It's a period where there's a sell-off, where people are more kind of seeing this going down rather than going up. Okay, we identified 4 types of technical indicators. TMVV, ذكروا TMVV, right? Trend, momentum, volatility, and then volume. Okay, we identified those. We said what are those indicators, and we reached support and resistance. Okay, so that was a small recap on what we did. ليكون عندكم براسكم شوي the big picture, so that we can dive into support and resistance, understand more of charting, and understand options, how to trade options, how to understand options as well as an indicator for us as part of the indicators. Okay, support and resistance. شو معناتها support and resistance؟ نحن اليوم بس نطلع على any chart. Okay, نطلع على chart بنلاقي there is a pattern, there is a moving pattern. Okay, let me try to share trading view. Okay, so this is the chart تبع snap. نسو كل اللي حواليها هون. Okay, for now just look at the pricing. Okay, just a second, let me see. Hello Eli. Okay, guys, can you see my screen? Okay, beautiful. Okay, thank you. So نحن هلا اللي عم نطلع عليه هو chart تبع snap. Okay, and I told you snap is a stock I'm looking at heavily هلا لانه اول شيء the announcements that they made on the AI stuff that they're going to include, and their power in attracting a niche audience for me is a bullish sign. Although هلا يعني we have the results on Thursday, so الخميس عنا results تبعهم. Okay, the earnings, which in my opinion are gonna surprise. ليش؟ لأنه we've been going on a أول شيء the 4 past quarters تبعهم the 4 past earnings تبعهم، وهيدا فيكم تشوفوها بالايرنينجز هيستوري تبعيتهم. الفور periods اللي قبل كانوا at a loss. Okay, they have أول شيء شالوا كتير عالم from like on an employment level they basically fired a lot of people. Number one, they are more and more interesting for advertisers لأنه with the ban or the potential ban that is kind of luring على TikTok, the ones who benefit are the niche مش the big ones. يعني مزبوط انه the first idea was انه reels, Instagram reels are going to benefit from this. However, Snap has more of a TikTok audience than Instagram, where a lot of older people are jumping. Just like Facebook, the younger people were on Facebook, then the older generation started adopting Facebook, and now we see a lot of basically the older generation on Facebook, while the younger generation is no longer really using Facebook. We see a small hype in Facebook Reels, but this is temporary because Facebook Reels are appealing. Hala, they're getting views. Instagram Zetshi, there's an adoption from older people on Instagram right now. However, Snapchat is really niche, so it's really for a younger generation that understands tech further, that knows how to play around. Options on Snap's app are complicated for the older generation to kind of play around, create that avatar, etc. So هون قبل ما اطلع على هيدا التشارت انا لازم يكون عندي هيدا الباك جراوند. اذا ما عندي هيدا الباك جراوند على سناب قبل ما اطلع على هيدا الشيء، كيف ما اطلعت على هيدا التشارت it's not going to be relevant. It's not going to be hugely relevant. ليش؟ لانه I have no clue what is happening. ليش there is an uptrend, ليش there is a downtrend, ليش there is a buying pressure, ليش there is no buying pressure. كل هيدا ما بقدر افهمه الا ما يكون عندي this information. حتى if you look at now what TradingView does is that they add the headlines to make you understand that مثلا this is what's happening with Snap. This is definitely not, by far not accurate, but it gives us a glimpse on what's happening. Okay, so دايما لازم يكون عندكم هيدي fundamental view of anything that you trade before looking at the chart. Now when you look at the chart, قلت لكم how do we identify support and resistance. أول شيء بدنا نعمله is we have to identify نحن شو عم نعمل trade. Are we doing what we call intraday trade? Okay. Are we doing short-term trade? Are we doing medium-term trade? How are we doing long-term trade? Okay. We have to identify. بدنا نعرف شو هن هودي. نحن شو عم نعمل. Okay. وهون بس نقدر نطلع عليهم. اوكي نقدر نفهم يعني we need to really understand وين شو التايم فريم اللي عم بشتغل عليها. اذا انا عم بشتغل انترا داي مثلا على النهار، ما فيني اجي وحط مثلا one day for example a one day time frame, right? ما بقدر اعملها لانه I don't get any kind of data from this. So أول شيء بدي نقي أنا شو هي التايم فريم تبعيته. شو بدي نقي. Usually for intraday we can use 1 minute. Okay. خليني نشيل الشات من هون. Okay. We can use a 1 minute trade, a 1 minute time frame. We can use a 5 minute. We can use the 15 minute time frame. So it depends على نحن شو الاستراتيجي تبعتنا. اوكي اذا نحن عم نطلع على on a daily basis we have to use those smaller time frames. ليش؟ تنقدر نشوف الباترنز، تنقدر نشوف شو عم بيصير. اوكي so هولي بيصيروا هولي اذا نحن حاطينها نحن هون 1 minute. So we have 1 minute time frames that are here and we can check. هجرب شيل الإيشيموكو هلا بس لحظة. Okay. So هون we can start seeing candles that are 1 minute candles وفينا نرجع in time to look at the chart and to play around with the chart and look at يلي قلت لكم نبلش فيه اللي هو شو swing points, right? Can we identify هون at least support ما حقلكم resistance and it's a bit more complicated but support swing points. شو يعني swing points? It's a low or a high where the price bumped several times that created some kind of support. Okay? هلا excuse my charting هلا for the time being لأنه ما عم بستعمل لا magnet ولا شيء بس can you see this? Okay. These price points هيدول swing points هون هيدي and this هون كل هول swing points basically okay constitute a شو a support. ليه؟ لأنه هيدول swing points basically طلعنا and then we bumped through them طلعنا and then we bumped through them. هلا these swing points هون okay are different than those. ليش؟ لأنه we have all this phase where we had an accumulation that happened and then we had another distribution phase that happened. So we have to differentiate between this area and this area when trying to analyze the chart. Okay, but هون we can see a clear support at this level. هلا again بده يكون هيك بس إنه still we can see a support at this level. Okay, these are swing points that can help us identify a support level. Okay, and that's the first strategy to identify a support level اللي هو those highs and those lows that create patterns بالنسبة لنا. Okay, if we go back إذا بنرجع لورا بعد okay we can see on a longer scale we can see that there were supports. هلا عم بعطيكم أنا a very conservative support guys بس لأنه I don't want you تفوتوا بالحيط بالهيدا بالsupport والresistance. Okay, this is a support line هون. This is a resistance line, sorry. Okay, this is a support. So we are playing around in this area where we have strong resistance and support. Again, does this mean that we're not going to go below or above? No, it doesn't. Why? Because we have seen only أول شيء the swing points بس we identified the swing points ما عملنا شيء تاني. واحد تاني شغلة we know that the earnings are coming and based on the earnings we're gonna see a totally different chart. So بتقولوا لي انتوا اوكي اذا حنشوف غير chart so why are we looking at this? Why is it helping us? Well هيدا الشيء بيخلينا نفهم even on news day or even on higher interest days in this stock, where is this performing? What we can do is نرجع لورا, and if you want to look at the chart لورا بعد, we're gonna take a daily chart. Hang on, sorry. Okay, and then we're gonna go back. Okay, and we're gonna look at just hang on, 2022 May. Okay, 2022 April. Okay, إذا بنطلع هون عم بعطيكم هون a very big view on what happened before. We saw that there was a gap here. Okay, what was this gap? Okay, this gap was basically when earnings happened. Okay, and there was what we started with the downtrend تبع Snap, where we started seeing that people were less confident in Snap's ability to perform. So we had several gaps على earnings. Okay, هيدي earnings 2 شفتوا الجابس gap earnings 2 gap earning 3. اوكي فهون بس تشوفوا انه did we have resistances and support؟ لا. So هون we saw gaps. So we estimate that if there's a shocking number here, we're gonna see a gap. Okay, we might see a gap. So we might we have a positive feedback from the board. Is that we have by any chance Snap would announce any kind of profit or hint to any kind of potential profit, then we might see a gap. Okay. إذا بنطلع على هون. Okay. We were just a second. Okay. ليكو وين كنا وين فتحنا. Okay. So we had a huge gap. So that shows that we could have potentially a gap upwards. Upwards by 10%, 15% if we have good hints from the board. Okay, so we might see Snap go to 11.5 to 12 if we have positive news on Thursday. Okay, so combining all the negativity that happened before, هون منبلش شو نعمل؟ نطلع على Snap from a financial ratio perspective. So the first support that we have tried to establish. نرجع على 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Just refresh this. Okay. لنرجع لهون. So basically what we first identified هو نلاقي support. Okay, through the swing points. Okay, that's the first idea. وقلت لكم خلينا نطلع على the earnings اللي صاروا قبل على الشارت نشوف شو صار at each earning, and that's how we start understanding what is happening. هلا when we go back to our presentation قلت لكم أول شيء we identify the swing points. شو هن؟ we identify the price where the asset has been bouncing off or getting rejected. Look at the chart and note all the biggest highs and lowest lows. Okay, these points can create a support level if they are repeating. إذا شفنا repetition, then we identify a certain support level. Okay, I gave you a few examples. JP Morgan, تعرفوني بحبه. 140 by the way, 140 on Friday. I sold my last part, my 20%. كان عندي 20%. I had said I want to sell at 140. Because I don't believe that the banking system is out of the woods yet. The profit margins تبعهم حيقلوا كتير, at least on the short run. And we're going to face a crisis with commercial real estate, but that's another story. Moving averages. Okay, so how do we بعدنا بالsupport and resistance? Okay, تاني طريقة تنعرف شو في support and resistance basically is using moving averages. Okay, شو يعني a moving average? Okay, a moving average, guys, a moving average is, let me stop this and نفسر شو moving average because it's fun. The moving average هو نحن شو بنعمل؟ ناخد historically لورا، بناخد closing on a past period. Let's say نحن عم ناخد a daily chart, okay, on a daily basis, يعني time frame daily. وبدنا نرجع 9 أيام لورا بنشوف closing على 9 أيام لورا. Okay, and we identify the average of those closings. هون عملت لكم الاكسرسايز قبل ما هيدا ما ضيع لكم وقتكم. So I identified 5 closings على 5 periods. Okay. So period 1 we closed at 9. Period 2 we closed at 9:15. Period 3 we closed at 8:85. There was a drop. Period 4 we closed at 9:3. Period 5 we closed at 9:5. We add those, okay, and then هلا اكيد الموفينج افريج بعطيكم اياهم اوتوماتيكلي بس عم فرجيكم شو في من ورا. We add those and we divide by 5 and the result is a median. Okay, that's a moving average. Okay, this is how much, and this is the average at which we are moving for the past period. Usually إذا عم نشوف the stock أو any kind of financial asset عم نشوفه in a bullish pattern, هيدا would serve as a support. Okay, العكس, it would serve as a resistance is that we are going down. Okay, so we would look at the moving average, and usually we want to look at the 20-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, and the 200-day moving average اللي هو 200-day moving average اللي هو over 200 days, and which is huge to really understand إذا في عنا big supports or big resistances. Usually again, these are used more on the commodity level, especially on gold. Okay, بنلاقي انه this impacts a lot, and oil as well, and less on stocks. Again, stocks do have this, but this is now not how you trade them. They're not purely technical. There's a very big fundamental component in stocks versus commodities where a technical aspect would play a bigger role. Forex as well. So we have moving averages that make sense أكتر إذا بدكم. Okay, so the second way to identify is by adding a moving average. Okay, there you go. So we added a moving average on. Okay, and you can see the moving average on moving with the stock. That's the median. So I'm نشوف هون if you look at the settings of the moving average, فيكم تفوتوا هون على settings تبعه, and you can see the inputs. هون the length is on a 9 period. The source is close. So هلا بنشوف بالإيشيموكو we look at the highs and lows. بالmoving average, and that's the difference between, بس نطلع على RSI فسرت لكم شو relative strength index, على moving averages, على الماك دي, هول كلهم related لشو؟ للسورس اللي هي الكلوز, right? in the Ishimoku cloud نطلع على الهايز واللوز. هلا بنفسره ما فتنا فيه بعد ما بتعرفوه, بس at least لتفهموا الكونسبت. This is why it's totally different than the moving average. So هون we're looking at the close. هلا انتم هون فيكم تغيروا هيدا length, فيكم تغيروها. You can play around depending على انتو شو هيدا. The more بتشوفوا, the more we get closer, so the more we bring the moving average to أقل periods, the more it becomes إذا بدكم kind of horizontal. Yeah, and the more we go further, the more we have oscillations عليها. Okay, so the moving average would help us identify a kind of يعني support or resistance on that level. Okay, خليني ارجع لهون. Okay, where is the presentation? Okay. Fibonacci, حنزلكم فيديو specific عن Fibonacci because it's a long story. However, Fibonacci basically what is the Fibonacci retracement? Basically, what we need to do is to try to identify certain support and resistance. Okay, so how do we do that? There are people, basically experts, who try to create these patterns. كل هول الباترنز guys, كل يلي بتشوفون are based on three main concepts. On the moving average of an asset, يعني كيف عم يتحرك طلوع أو نزول, number one. Okay, قد ايه في volume عليه, number two. Okay, قد ايه في volume عليه, number two. وقديش قد ايه في volume عليه, وقديش في volatility. So قديش عم بيهز. Okay, so when we start understanding that كل اللي عم نشتغله, all the indicators اللي عم نشتغلهم are all based on how is the stock moving or the asset moving upwards or downwards. Okay, what's the volume on that asset, and how is it impacting volatility, بنبلش نفهم انه all of the indicators are very close to each other. However, they take different angles, and this is why sometimes we prefer one indicator over the other, and one approach over the other. But كلهم they give us the historical data. They try to predict what is moving forward. كل ما كان financial asset فيه is less impacted by fundamental news or analysis or concepts, كل ما نحن technical analysis تبعيتنا فيها تكون more accurate. وكل ما نحن عم نعمل trades على محلات where there are major news coming in, كل ما fundamental بياخد the upper hand and the technical takes the lower hand. Okay, so Fibonacci is basically a drawing. Okay, وحنزل لكم a specific video عنه, بس I want you to understand the concept. Where we draw from the lowest swing point. يعني قلت لكم we identify swing points, right? فوق وتحت. So we draw from the lowest to the highest. امتين إذا منشوف we are in a bullish trend. إذا we are going down in a bearish trend, then شو بنعمل retracement نزول from the highest swing point all to the up to the lowest, all the way down to the lowest swing point. Okay, ومنشوف بس نعمل retracement منشوف انه بيحط لنا different colors and different bars. هولي based on the Fibonacci indicator, هن percentages basically, but based on those, this will give us an idea of what would be the resistance level in case we're going up, or the support levels in case we're going down. Okay, again رح فسرلكم كيف تعملوها. That's I'm going to share my screen and explain it to you, but I want you to really understand the concept before kind of digging deeper into what the Fibonacci can help you with. Pros and cons of the Fibonacci. Fibonacci gives you a kind of view of the whole kind of asset. However, it does not really identify as a trend. You have to really know the trend قبل لا تعرفوا شو support and resistance on this asset. بس خليني أعمل شغلة. جرب أعملكم هون. Okay, that's okay. Let me try to do this. بس لحتى ما عم تشوفوا سكرين تبعي لحظة. Every time I change the page, I have to هيدا. Okay. So هون شو بنعمل؟ بناخد هون we identified a downwards trend. Okay, so بناخد the highest point. فينا ناخد هيدا كنا فينا ناخد هيدا. Okay, and we go down again. أنا for me, because I know Snap, I did not take this point. I took this point because I know in هون there was an impact on fundamentals that was very heavy. There was an issue with management that happened that really impacted the stock. So I took this basically this point to try to analyze further. وهون إذا بطلعوا that we have identified certain lines where there is some kind of support going downwards. هون السوينج بوينتس اللي نحن we had identified شفتوا we bounced عليهم مرة, we bounced 2 3 4, and then we kept bouncing on this level. Okay, so that's that helps you really identify certain levels of resistance and support. Again, أول طريقة تنعمل support and resistance is to understand the swing points. Okay, تاني طريقة is the moving average. Okay, are we trading below the moving average or above the moving average? Okay, that gives us a signal. Then we check the Fibonacci. Basically, we do it from swing point to swing point. Okay, and we can see resistance and support and resistance levels. Again, إذا نحن نازلين we'll identify support. إذا نحن طالعين we'll identify resistance levels. Now, the fourth point in support and resistance هو الفوليوم clusters. Okay, so بدنا نطلع نشوف وين في volume, وين في high volume صار. Okay, so we go over here بنفوت on volume, basically the volume oscillator. Okay, and we can see هون وين في high volume spikes. Okay, وهون we start identifying certain clusters. Okay, just a second. Done. Okay, so هون we start identifying volume clusters. The more there's a spike in volume, يعني there's gonna be a certain movement. Okay, and the less we have volume, it means we won't have movement on this financial asset. So أنا هون بدي أطلع على الكلاسترز. إذا بتطلع عليهم هفرجيكم هون small comparison بس تفهموا شوي عن شو عم بحكي أكتر. Okay, look at this level مثلا. Okay, we saw هون a spike. If you look at this level هون, okay, we saw an accumulation. Okay, ahead هيدا الفوليوم يلي هون عم نشوفه, it was an accumulation basically ahead of a jump upwards. So بس نشوف volume كتير عادة we start analyzing that there is gonna be some kind of movement either heavily to upwards أو heavily downwards. وهون depending أكيد على what we know as news and what we know as concepts that are happening to these financial assets. Okay, so volume is an indicator. And I love to look at volume when I trade, and especially هلا what we're gonna see is the options volumes. Okay, هلا فصلكم إياها شو options volume. هون I prepared this for you. هلا حنحكي فيها. بس overall volume gives us a clear kind of إذا بدكم مش direction بس a view on where are investors. إذا عم بيفكروا مثل ما نحن عم نفكر أو لا. إذا الفوليوم عم بيعلى أما لا. Okay. And that gives us an indicator, a further indicator on support and resistance. So هون بنشوف بس نشوف هيدول السبايكس. We can identify supports through those spikes. إذا شفنا there was a huge spike هون, but شفتوا هون مثلا there was a huge spike and then there was a downwards movement. Okay, a downwards movement here, and then we bumped back up. We had a downwards movement here. So هون that could be a resistance for us. And هون we are basically in a downwards trend. So that would serve as a resistance لنا. Again, not very accurate drawing هلا. Okay, but just so you understand, we have this. Okay, we bumped once, نزلنا, we bumped twice, and then we kept going down. لأنه we are in a bearish, momentum. Okay. وكيف عرفنا إنه we are in a bearish momentum يا guys؟ هيك لنشوف إذا بعدكم تذكروا شو قلت لكم. بس لكبر لكم إياها تتشوفوا عن شو عم بحكي. What can we see here بالMACD? What can we see here? A crossing, ما هيك؟ So that cross, lower lows, صح, bravo. Be proud. Proud, Bashir, exactly. We have a crossing here that started bumping us downwards. Okay. And we have a negative cloud here. So that shows us and we are in a bearish kind of movement. فينا كمان نروح على RSI. Okay. نفتح ال RSI and to look at the RSI as well. إذا you look at the RSI, this is the RSI. وين كنا هون؟ كنا in overbought territory, far overbought. ليكو قلنا كل شيء فوق ال 70 is overbought، ما هيك؟ ليكو وين كنا؟ And then we started dripping down in our bearish trend نزول. Okay. Now we are gearing up towards towards an accumulation هون as we move forward. Is that we want to move and look at it moving forward. شو بنطلع؟ بنلاقي هون we're waiting for a crossing. We're waiting for these lines to cross to create a signal لنا تنشوف إذا بدنا نطلع أو لا. We are midway on the RSI. Okay, we didn't have a spike in volume. بالعكس, we had a downwards spike in basically a downwards movement in volume. Okay, so هيدا كله gives us an indicator basically إنه هلا people are waiting, so there is no real movement that's happening on Snap. We have to look tomorrow لما بيفتحوا الماركتس we really need to look at Snap, look إذا there is movement. لأنه ليش؟ لأنه some investors will know ahead of us, ahead of retailers, how is the stock going to perform and what would be the earnings. لأنه remember, earnings are filed مش نحن بيوصلوا لنا شوي مؤخر. So اللي بتسمعوه على CNBC أو على هولي هو basically the earnings يلي already طلعوا, بس all يعني institutional investors وهولي they know what's happening. Okay, so they know beforehand what is happening with the market. So نحن من بكرة منبلش نطلع لنشوف إذا there is a spike in volume, لنشوف إذا there is a movement in volume عم بيصير في طلب أكتر. And this is what brings me to the fifth, basically to the fifth point in support and resistance. So أول نقطة كنا ال swing points. Let me get you back to the presentation. Okay. So أول نقطة هي swing points. تاني نقطة هن ال moving average. Okay. هو ال moving average to identify. ثالث نقطة ال Fibonacci. رابع نقطة is the volume clusters. Do we have volume أو لا? Okay. And هون كان لازم زدت لكم خامس نقطة, بس هلا برجع بزيدها. Basically هي لأنه عملتها بسكشن لحالها تحت, بس I'm gonna repeat it, مش مشكلة. هي هون إذا بتلاقوها هي options هون, بس إنه I'm gonna add it هون just for the sake of clarity. So the fifth point in support and resistance is looking at options, and هون it's a very straightforward approach. So what I'm gonna do is share my screen on the options page. كيف منجيب الoptions؟ منروح على Yahoo Finance. It's the easiest way for you guys. You can find it on TradingView, but this gives you a clearer. I love Yahoo Finance on that level. So منروح على الستوك, نقينا Snap مثلا, okay, and then we go here. You see options, okay. So بتفوتوا لهون, and then you look at في شيء اسمه call options, okay, calls, and في شيء اسمه puts. شو يعني؟ calls هو we are betting basically buying the stock. يعني a call option is an option for me to buy the stock at a specific strike price. Okay? شو هي? An option is an option for me to buy the stock at a specific strike price. A put option is an option for me to sell the stock at a specific price. Okay, so the call will put the calls basically usually I'm buying the stock, so usually we're looking at an upwards view from the price, from the current price. A put option is I'm selling the stock, so I'm looking for a downwards movement from the current price. Okay, فدايما بس بدي اعمل انا هاي الاناليسيس, بس بدي اشوف الاوبشنز. This is the fifth way of kind of looking at support and resistance, and it's not something very common لانه اكثريه العالم بيروحوا ببلشوا يطلعوا بالindicators, بيطلعوا على the major indicators to look at support and resistance. For me, I love to look at options لأنه it gives me those strike prices. ليش it's very important؟ لأنه options بس تفسركم fundamentally options هن contracts, so they have strike prices. Sorry, I'm trying to get my pen. Not really. Okay. Yeah. So هيدول options هن contracts. So هول contracts basically are being executed. يسمون executed. So أنا لما I'm executing a contract شو يعني؟ يعني مثلا أنا قررت إنه أعمل call option على سناب at $12. أنا شايف الستوك طالع لل 15. Okay. So I want to bet on Snap بس ما معي مصاري to buy the stock. Okay, at $10. So what do? I buy call options at a strike price of, as I buy it at the strike price of 10, it's gonna be more expensive than the strike price of 12. ليش؟ لأنه what is fundamentally an option? An option fundamentally هو contract أنا مش بلتزم فيه. أنا I have the option fee to buy the stock at a specific fixed price. So أنا لما I'm buying, let's say عم بشتري هال option at $12, يعني أنا I have the right to buy Snap at $12 whatever the price is in the market. شو ما كان السعر in the market, I can buy it, I can execute my options contract and buy it at a $12 price. هون أنا شو عم بعمل؟ ما معي مصاري to buy the stock per se, بس I want to buy those contracts and I want to bet on those contracts. وشايف إنه سناب بده يطلع لل $15. Okay, within a certain period of time أكيد. So very important إنه ال option contract has an expiry. So أنا بدي دايما اطلع على expiry. كل ما قربت على expiry كل ما هال option contract بيفقد قيمته. Okay. فأنا إذا I'm looking إنه Snap is gonna do $15 by September وبدي اشتري Snap at a strike price of 12, يعني بدي اشتري at 12, I buy the contract and I hold it. Okay, I wait for earnings هلا جايين. I wait for the earnings اللي جايين بجولاي. Okay, I'm assuming إنه it's gonna go up. لنقول effectively. As an investor, مش as a retail, as an institutional, I could have the money to execute at $12. Okay, so لما institutionals they execute those contracts, or those contracts get terminated, okay, a lot of volume gets into play on the stock. And this is why هول بالنسبة إلي become support and resistance levels. لأنه مثل ما حفرجيكم هلا. Okay, شوفوا. This is something that is really out of practice, out of analysis that you understand. إذا بتطلعوا هدول call options هون ال contract name هيدا اسمه للcontract. Okay. Okay. هيدا اسمه للcontract and then you can go into details تبعوا له. So, okay. The strike price تبعه $3. يعني أنا I have the option to buy the Snap at basically at strike at $3, and the price of this contract is 7.70. Okay, يعني بدي ادفع $7.70 تيكون عندي option اشتري Snap at 3. Okay, so that's a total of 10.7. ما هيك؟ of 10.7 صح؟ How much is the price? 10.01. So this contract is technically at this point at a loss. ليه? Why is it at a loss? Because the contract is at a premium right now. شو يعني it's at a premium? يعني people don't want to sell it at the current price or below. بالعكس, they believe that there's a movement upwards that might happen. And so this is reflecting in the contract price. Okay, so we see the contract price being, which is the strike price plus the price of the contract at 10.7, which means we are at a premium, which means that we have a kind of movement upwards. هلا do we have volume on this contract? No, we don't. So that does not mean that that people are bullish on this لأنه ما في كتير volume. Okay, and this is where we see that there's very low volume, there's very low open interest. شو يعني open interest؟ شو يعني volume؟ volume هو قديش هيدا الكونتراكت صار في تريدز عليه. open interest هو قديه في contracts مفتوحين على هيدا السترايك برايس. Okay, you see انه it's very 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 low. Okay, هون we start getting into the money. The $6 strike price is trading at 4.16. So we are at 10.16. شفتوا? We are at 10.16 in total. هون we are at 10.01. So now we're getting closer to the $10 اللي هو the current price اللي هو closing اللي صار. Okay. هلا أنا I want to look at volume open interest. إذا بنطلع هون we have a big open interest at the $7 strike price, and we are trading very, very, very close to the price, 10.05 versus 10.01. Okay, and we have a big open interest at this price, so people are seeing a lot of movement on that level at the $7. So the $7 for me is definitely a support, a major support. Okay. We have a bigger open interest and a much bigger volume at this price, at the $9 price. Okay, مشان هيك عنا كمان a premium on the contract, so that's going to be another support level لإلي. The $10 is going to be another support level لإلي, and then definitely the $10 is going to be a support. Okay, it's going to bounce on it. The price of the contract went down, obviously, because people are still worried about Snap, still worried about the technology. So we have another support. هلا from a resistance perspective, ليكو هون طلع في عندي huge open interest 14,464 contracts opened at this price اللي هو strike price of 11. Okay, اللي هو strike price of 11. I can buy this for 44 cents. So إذا نحن عن جد طلعنا لل 11، إذا طلعنا لل 11 which we are at 10 هلا, we could see ليكو إذا at 10 the price of the contract is 0.8. So if we reach the 11 bar on Thursday, okay, we would see our contracts double in price. See how much profit we can make. That's the bet or the investment in options that makes us basically take risks. However, this is very, very, very risky. If we were to go down from $10 on Thursday, we noticed results were not as good as we expected, then we would fall into problems. Okay, لأنه ما بقى في لأنه الوقت بيصير عم بيقطع على الكونتراكت تبعنا, we would be in a race against time. This is why usually options are used as a hedge in investments and not only as a trading strategy. Some people take risks. بعدين ما يكون عندهم exposure على سناب on Thursday يقولوا انه انا بدي اشتري سناب وامسكه بركي نزل ل $9 ضلني حامله لحتى الله يفرجها. بقول لا, I'll buy my contracts at 44 cents for the $11 strike price. Okay, and if we go above $11, then definitely that that contract would go up in value. هون مثل ما هو at 10 هلا it's at 0.8. We would easily see if 11 and if we went up, we would see this at maybe $1 or 0.90 or هيدا. So we could literally double our money with a position like this if results are positive on the stock. So that's another resistance إذا بدكم. لأنه ليه؟ لأنه once people see it upwards, هيدا $11 يلي في عليها كتير open interest, these contracts either might be executed or sold. إذا they are executed or sold, they will put supply pressure على الstock. So we would have more snap stocks in the market, which would bring potentially the price to a halt. يعني بصير يضرب على resistance. So I would like to tell you هيك just to put those prices بس تلاقوا الفوليومز نقوا اعلى 3 volumes واوبن انترست دائما as a rule لاقوا اعلى 3 وحطوهم support اذا كنا below the price او resistance اذا كنا above the price. Okay, puts Z sheet. Okay, puts we look at puts نطلع هون strike price اللي هو $5. Okay, there's a high interest on it which we are far from right now, so ما نكون كثير عايزينه. Okay, بس هون إذا بنطلع we have this the 11. شفتوا ال 11 في puts على ال 11 7,225 open interests على $11. Okay, versus هيدي بالputs. أما بالcalls we have at 11 we have 14,000. So more people believe, double the people actually believe that Snap is going up from here than going down. Okay, well, this kind of gives us an insight on what's happening. إذا بنطلع بنلاقي 14,000 contract أو بشري قرر إنه بده يشتري call options على $11 versus 7,000 بده يبيع أو بده يشتري put options على $11. This would شو اسمه? This would be basically a clear view of مش clear بس إنه an insight into okay, people are more bullish on the stock than are bearish on the stock. Okay, however, there are still people bearish. There are still people betting against Snap. We have 7,000 at 11, we have 4,000 at 11.50, and then we have around 5,800 at 12. Okay, so بدنا نطلع فيها بهالطريقة كمان مش بس نطلع على وحدة على نمبر وحدة لأنه هون it's more dispersed. So بنطلع هيدا. So again, this is an insight as to support and resistance and how we can move from here. Okay.